All right, perfect. So quick round of questions. What questions have you got in? And if we can keep it, I guess, in line into what we've discussed, that's helpful because there's a lot of other things that we'll be covering down the line. So based on finding a location, what questions do you have? Shane, how many instructors admin do you budget for when first opening a new location?
Okay, so I budget for one admin person and for one instructor and then 2 assistant instructors. And that usually does the trick.
Perfect. Carl, how do you design the whole fit out, get consultants in? We're going to cover that in section 4, module 4. So
how much do we have in the emergency fund? A question there.
Yeah,
it's just popped up. Pretty much enough to cover rent and at another location for possibly 6 weeks. It's a rough guide, just in case it may never happen. But just have that in reserve to the side. Yep.
Right, Chris. School hall is current main, but then you open second location in leased building. Perception, does it then become the headquarters?
Well, that's entirely up to you. I was operating out of a school hall, but we had a full-time centre at another location. But the town I was in was the full-time. It was a headquarters at that time. That was about 20 years ago now. But so you can do it both ways. It's where the principal person is the head of organisation, I guess. Yeah. I hope that answers that question.
Perfect. Carl Bunnings. That's Lindsay's answer. For American friends, I think you've got Home Depot, maybe. Yep. And Kim, you have it as well? Okay, cool. That's Lindsay's answer there. And Lowe's. All right, there we go. All right. Any more questions in regards to opening your next location?
Kevin, how long out would you do this planning? Like, how long out before you decide that you're going to open there? Would you look at this planning?
Sure. Well, it sort of correlates with trying to find a venue.
Yes.
It takes like the longest it's taken to get a venue. It was 12 months. I had to relocate from where I was to where in the same town, and there was just nothing available. So that was fortuitously my lease ran out as we were moving out. But generally about 3 to 6 months. You plan it out. Once you make a decision, start looking around some venues and then do all this planning in the background, and the two should marry in the middle. So the venue's the hardest part, It's really to get one that ticks all the boxes. And well, as you know, we're in Edgeworth, not far from you, about 40 minutes away, 30 minutes away.
Yep.
And it took ages to get that venue that we wanted. We found a lot of places in and around the other suburbs that just weren't suitable, but that one's worked out really well. So, it gives you a bit of an idea. Yeah.
Thanks, Kev.
Is the location and fit out part of the license agreement?
Now, the answer is guidance on the fit out is, and helping get the location is, that's part of that, but the fit out is entirely up to the person that has the license. That's their, we give them a guide, we give them, what signage to use and what layout to use, what's worked best. They generally, they follow that, and that works really good. And then from there, it's up to them, how much they want to put into it. But we pretty much have a budget for it. So, yeah.
All right. Chris, next one, typical lease term to look at. Any gotchas experienced?
A 3x3 is a good one. 3 years. It's 3-year lease with 3-year option because if you're struggling, you can limp through 3 years. They usually want 5, but you just say, 3 years for the first 3 years, and if it's successful, we'll go to 5-year terms. So that you do that.
Perfect. Shane, do you look for a venue first or wait for instructors?
You need to have the instructors already on the boil. You need to have them in position. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. You have a nice venue, but you got to have the staff. So, tying back into what Lindsay's saying, once you make that decision, you've got about 3 months to 6 months to get your venue, and that time, that's when you're training everything. So it's all sort of happening at once. Does that make sense? It's not that hard. Like we're spelling everything out very clearly, but once you start doing it, it really all falls into place. It all ties in.
The problem that we find here, Kevin, and I've just gone through this exercise and decided to stay where I am. Our average rent on a building 350 squares, somewhere around there, you're looking at about $70,000.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you're looking at bloody 200 students nearly just to pay for the rent on the building.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about pricing and that
in the next. Yep.
Yeah, and that may help that thing, but yeah, you got. I know you got to. It is Australian rent is just ridiculous, So something I saw in the chat, and we may have missed it, something about partnering with similar things. You can partner with like a yoga group or a Pilates group or a dance group. I've done a bit of coaching with some guys, and they couldn't quite afford it, but they got a dance school goes in. So they sort of work in and around each other, and they pay half the rent. So in your case, it's $35K, So there is variables to everything, and there's manageable processes,
The problem that I originally had a mate who had a martial arts club, and he was teaching a different art to what I was teaching, and we went halves in the building. He was paying half the rent,
mm-hmm.
And the problem was I started to grow so quickly that I needed those nights that he had.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope when people do this, their success comes quickly. And 70K is, it's a big chunk, but it's quite manageable, So a good model is if you can make 50% profit, that's across the board, that's pretty damn good. And it's doable. It is. I know it's doable, but, it takes a bit to get there, and hopefully this course will help you guys look at what you're doing now and also look for the future to grow and develop, because we want positive people in the community like yourselves that are going to bring good martial arts, and people are going to be benefiting from it, so it's important.
All right, just going through the list here. Natalie, do you advise providing Wi-Fi at venue for all or not?
Oh, it's up to you. It's a discretionary thing. We have it, and if people ask for it, we give it to them, but, I always say if you've got time to be on your phone, you should be in the other room training.
There we go.
Wi-Fi used to be a big thing, but nowadays everybody has like 1 million gigabytes on their phone. Most people don't care anymore.
I guess it depends again if you didn't check your speedtest.net.
I've got Wi-Fi in the centre, but no one has ever asked me for the Wi-Fi passcode ever.
Yeah, I've had about 2 people, Lindsay. No.
Yeah, but I tell you what I have done though is that when my Wi-Fi goes down, I've asked some of the parents, can I use their hotspot? So it's been on the opposite foot a couple of times now.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Shane. So last one we got here. Do all your location fit outs look similar?
I do look similar. It's hard because the configuration of the venue, whilst the area might be, it's sort of like externally, yes, they look, similar signage, but it depends. If they've been established for 10 years, the modelling we now have is a lot different. So like our newer locations like Canberra, Newcastle, here. They look very similar because they're the three later, most recent ones. Sometimes the other guys redo them, like out of Cowra, they redid a new location, so theirs looks similar. But if you see some of our older schools, it's got our older signage on it. And I've been encouraging them to upgrade it, but, it takes a bit of time to do that. So they're sort of similar in a fashion, colour schemes and that, but generally they're a little bit different. It's not dramatically different, but just that it is different. It's due to purely the facility size and where it's located. So, yeah.
Perfect. And then the last follow-up on that, do the instructors who start a new location still have a current job, or are they all in? So part-time, full-time?
Some have current jobs. We do have that. And like they might have a part-time job, and then we top them up. So we sort of, we've got one young guy, he works at Rebel Sport certain days and he works for us other days, and does his own training, and he's a combat sports athlete as well. So, he's that's just one example. But generally I try to have permanent staff if I'm owning and operating it. And I suggest that because then you got their full attention all the time.
Perfect. I think we've got all the questions. Is there anything that I missed? Shane, just context, you said, what about license? Meaning, you can unmute if easier.
You said if you're the owner operator, you want the people can be part-time or full-time or whatever. But what about when it's a license agreement?
Yeah, that's up to them. They use the staffing structure that we have as the one we put up earlier on, and they use that as then they staff it themselves if it's under license.
So there's no requirement there to be a full-time or?
No, I leave it up to their discretion. Most of them have full-time staff. The full-time centres, the little part-time ones, they come and teach a couple of days a week.
Yeah, when they first open a new location, are they generally still working, or are they all
the license holder? Generally they might still, they may have had a 5-day-a-week job and drop back to 3 days a week. Some are ready to go. They just go straight in and hook into it. Yeah, it does vary, but they need to be able to put all their effort in. So, that needs to be really emphasised before you give them a license. That, hey, you can't just, expect this to happen in the background. You've got to put the effort in, and they've got to be, 24/7 to start with until it all starts to play out for them, and then just cruise control.
And are you training them in that? But let's say you're still looking for a new location, like 3 to 6 months. Are you training them in how to run everything?
100%. Yeah. We help them with all that. Yeah.
Okay. And once they get up and running, once they've they hit that 6, 12, 18 months, when do you step backwards, or do you step back straight away, or what is the time frame there?
Once they're up and running, I'll spend more time with the new location, but generally as a rule, I talk to each location owner at least once a fortnight, or more if they require it. And then we have get-togethers, we have conferencing, we have camps and stuff. So we all come together, and we do some business and we do some other stuff as well. Yeah.
Perfect.
Correct. Chris, yeah.
All right. And then I'm going to cover the last question. Yeah. So Peter, when you want to move to a new location, what do you do to manage the time between lease finishing on the current lease or to starting your new lease? Do you ask for month to month until the new location is established, or look for a temp location like a hall?
If you can transition from your current location into your new location, that's a lot easier. That's like moving twice is not much fun. You just have to negotiate it with the landlord that you currently have. I try for once a month, Yeah. What out for COVID as well, yeah. Thanks for that. That's where your emergency fund comes in. We were pretty lucky, though. We managed to negotiate through COVID with a lot of our landlords to get suspended or half, or some are really good and say, don't worry about it, just pay us when you can. some weren't. So, you know, that's about right. 8 months to move over the COVID, correct. Still getting back to it. So in regard to transitioning from a current location to a new location, you need to just discuss that with your landlord. So,
have you seen large drop-offs from existing students when you move?
Okay, so we still stay where we are and we open a second location. That's what we're focusing on with this course. But if I go from one side of town to the other, you'll be amazed. We moved like 3 kilometres and we had about 10 people. I can't go anymore. I said, for God's sake, it's 3 kilometres away. You know, like it's not like it's the end of the earth. But yeah, we had a few people drop off. That's you know, it's like if you change your timetable and it's not even their class. Some people will say, "Oh, we've got to quit now because you changed the timetable." Come on, you know. So it's just a case of managing the process.
Yeah, we've just changed our timetable, Kevin, because we're now having to, you know, put more classes in. We've split some of our groups up because they've been so large, you know, beginners, intermediate, advanced, that sort of area. And we've got students now. We've only just introduced it yesterday and we've already got students going, "Oh, we just can't possibly come anymore because you've changed the timetable." Just, what can I do? You just go, "Oh, okay, thanks very much. I appreciate the time you've been with us."
See ya.
Next, move on.
Yeah. There's always going to be a reason or excuse.
And some of them are only half-hour changes. And the other one that we just found was, it's too late for the kids now. What do you mean? They're 11. They're a 10 and 11-year-old, and it's like 6:30. You really?
They'll be on their devices to 12 o'clock anyway. So.
Yeah, I know. That was my point.